She called me boring, predictable. Then she stole my grandfather's D-Day cufflinks and flew to paradise with her ex-boyfriend. Posted it all online. I'm a defense contractor who spent 30 years planning for contingencies. She wanted excitement. I gave her a federal investigation and got my family heirlooms back. My name is Arthur Croft. I'm 57 years old, and I spent 32 years working in defense logistics before transitioning to private consulting. I've coordinated supply chains through 3 war zones, managed classified shipments across hostile borders, and learned one fundamental truth. Chaos doesn't announce itself with sirens. It arrives quietly, wearing familiar clothes, smiling at you over morning coffee. That Tuesday started ordinary enough. I was in my home office reviewing a contract proposal when my phone buzzed. A text from my niece Chloe. Uncle Arthur, you might want to check Alara's Instagram before it disappears. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. I opened the app. There she was. Alara, my wife of 30 years, poolside at some Bahamas resort I definitely hadn't paid for, wearing a white bikini I'd never seen. Her head rested on the shoulder of a man whose face I recognized immediately. Julian Hayes, her college boyfriend, the one she called the biggest waste of my 20s, at our 20th anniversary dinner. His sunglasses sat perched on her head like they belonged there. Her left hand, the one still wearing the wedding ring I'd saved 3 months to buy, held a blue cocktail. They were both laughing. The caption read, "Never settle for less than you deserve." I sat there for what felt like an hour, but was probably 90 seconds. The coffee in my mug went cold. Something inside me went colder. I didn't throw the phone, didn't curse, didn't call her. I just smiled. The way you smile when a contractor finally shows you the faulty wiring you knew was there all along. Then I opened my laptop. See, Alara always called me predictable. Boring even. Said I was too methodical, too careful, too obsessed with contingency plans. She wanted spontaneity, adventure, passion. What she forgot was that methodical men don't panic. We pivot. I pulled up our bank accounts, joint savings, joint checking, the credit card with both our names. I'd built redundancies into our financial infrastructure years ago, right after her father's stroke when she panicked about having nothing in her own name. I'd set up separate accounts then for her security. She'd never bothered checking the details. 30 years of military precision training doesn't disappear just because you retire. I transferred exactly half of our joint savings into my personal account. Took 4 minutes. Then I froze the joint credit card, the one currently funding that resort vacation. Another 2 minutes. My phone rang. Alara's sister probably. I silenced it. I wasn't angry. Anger is hot, impulsive, stupid. I was cold, calm, and surgical. She wanted to laugh at me from paradise. Fine. Let's see how funny paradise gets when the money stops flowing. I picked up my coffee mug, took a sip of the cold brew, and started making a list of phone calls I needed to make, starting with the resort concierge. The first domino fell quietly, the way I planned it. Alara wouldn't notice immediately. She never checked our accounts until she needed something. That was my advantage. She'd gotten comfortable, complacent, trusting that the money would always be there because it always had been. I spent the next hour combing through 6 months of bank statements. Each line item told a story she thought I'd never read. A lingerie boutique in Richmond, $240, 3 weeks ago. A spa called Serenity now that specialized in couples massages, $380 twice last month. Dinner at Antoine's, an upscale French place downtown, $412 on a Tuesday night when she texted me she was working late on the quarterly audit. Antoine's was in Georgetown. Julian Hayes lived in Georgetown. Funny how that worked. I canceled her joint credit card. Then I systematically went through every subscription, every auto pay, every recurring charge, tied to her name or email. iCloud storage gone. Cell phone plan disconnected from auto pay. Spotify, Netflix, Hulu canceled. I left exactly one thing active, the car insurance. When that lapsed and the DMV sent her a registration violation notice, she'd need to handle it herself. My phone buzzed again. Alara's mother this time. I let it go to voicemail. The thing about being methodical is that people mistake it for passivity. Alara had spent years interpreting my calm as weakness, my planning as fear of confrontation. She'd forgotten or never truly understood that I'd spent 3 decades in an industry where one miscalculation meant people died. I didn't make miscalculations. I pulled up the booking confirmation for Villa Paraiso Resort, still in my email from when I'd foolishly believed we were planning a couple's getaway for our anniversary. She'd gone without me, with him, using my planning, my research, my money. I dialed the resort's front desk. Villa Paraiso, this is Claudia speaking. How may I assist you today? Good afternoon, I said, my voice perfectly pleasant. My name is Arthur Croft. My wife, Alara Croft, is currently a guest at your resort. I need to make a change to the payment information on file. Of course, sir. May I have the reservation number? I read it off. Heard her keyboard clicking. Yes, I see the reservation here. How can I help? The credit card currently on file has been compromised, I said smoothly. I need to remove it from the account. All future charges should be billed directly to Mrs. Croft. She'll need to provide her own payment method going forward. A pause. Will you be providing an alternate card, sir? No, I replied. She's an adult. She can handle her own expenses. I understand. I'll make that notation immediately. Thank you for your assistance. I hung up and leaned back in my chair. The afternoon sun slanted through the window, catching dust motes in the air. Everything looked the same as it had this morning, but everything had changed. My laptop was still open. One more call to make, the most important one. I pulled up my encrypted email, the one I maintained since my DoD consulting days, and began typing. The subject line read, Spousal Financial Estrangement. Preliminary documentation. This was not revenge. Revenge was emotional, chaotic, short-sighted. This was strategy. My son Leo arrived at my door that evening without calling first. He stood on the porch in his army fatigues, duffel bag over one shoulder. Jaw set in that way that reminded me of myself at his age. Dad, he said simply. I stepped aside. He walked in, dropped his bag, and turned to face me. Isabel called me. Leo said, show me the posts. I got emergency leave approved. Drove straight here from Fort Campbell. Something in my chest tightened. Not grief, pride. My boy had dropped everything and driven 6 hours because his father needed him. You didn't have to do that. I told him. Yes, I did. He crossed his arms. What's the plan? I almost smiled. Now it happened. Now are you okay? What's the plan? That's how I'd raised him. I've already initiated financial separation, I said. Froze the accounts, contacted the resort, started documentation. He nodded slowly. Good. What else? There's something I need to tell you. I walked to my office, Leo following. I opened the safe built into the wall, the one Alara had never bothered learning the combination to. Inside, wrapped in velvet cloth, sat a pair of gold cufflinks. I handed them to Leo. He turned them over in his palm, examining the engraved initials. JC, these belong to your great-grandfather, I said. He wore them at Normandy, carried them through France and Germany. My grandfather gave them to me before he died. They're worth about $4,000, but their real value is what they represent. Honor, sacrifice, family. Leo looked up. Why are you showing me this now? Because they're missing from the safe, I said quietly. I noticed yesterday when I was organizing documents. Your mother knew they were here. She's the only other person who's been in this office. His expression hardened. She took them. I checked the security cameras. I pulled up the footage on my computer. The timestamp read, 3 weeks ago, 2 days before Alara left for her vacation. The video showed her opening the safe, removing the velvet pouch, and slipping it into her purse. Leo's hands curled into fists. She stole from you, from us. She stole from your great-grandfather's memory. I corrected, and I guarantee she gave them to Julian. Probably thought they'd make a nice romantic gesture. We're getting them back, Leo stated. Not a question. Eventually, I agreed. But first, she needs to understand the full weight of what she's done. This isn't just about infidelity anymore. This is theft of family heirlooms. That changes the legal landscape considerably. Leo, met my eyes. You've been planning this. I've been preparing for contingencies, I said. There's a difference. My phone buzz. A text from Alara. Arthur, my card isn't working. The hotel is saying there's a problem. Call me. I showed Leo the message. He snorted. You going to answer? Not yet, I said. Let her sweat. She wanted independence and excitement. Let's see how she handles both. Alara's photo appeared on my screen again 3 hours later. I didn't answer. 6 more calls followed over the next 2 hours. Then a text. This isn't funny, Arthur. Something's wrong with our accounts. Leo sat across from me at the kitchen table, sipping coffee. We'd spent the past hour reviewing documents, planning next steps. My daughter, Isabel, had arrived an hour ago. Her paralegal training immediately put to use organizing financial records. She's panicking, Isabel observed, reading over my shoulder. Good, Leo said flatly. Another text came through. Arthur, please. I need you to call the bank. There's been some kind of mistake. Isabel looked at me. Are you going to respond? Not to her, I said. I opened my laptop instead and pulled up the chat log Alara didn't know I had access to. Her iCloud backup still synced to the family account. Another thing she'd never bother checking. The messages between her and Julian went back for months. I scrolled through them, my face expressionless, even as my children read over my shoulders. Can't wait to show that boring old man what he's missing. Isabel read aloud, her voice shaking with anger. She wrote that about you. Keep reading, I said quietly. Leo leaned closer. The cufflinks are perfect. He'll never know they're gone. He barely looks at anything from his past anyway. Dad, she planned this, Isabel whispered. The whole thing was calculated. Yes, I agreed, which makes my response entirely justified. My phone rang. A different number. I answered. Arthur Croft. Mr. Croft, this is Antonio Rossi, manager at Villa Paraiso Resort. I'm calling regarding Mrs. Alara Croft's account. Yes, there seems to be a situation with payment for her suite. The card on file has been declined, and she's unable to provide alternative payment. She's quite distressed. She mentioned you might be able to help clarify the situation. There's no situation to clarify, I replied calmly. Mrs. Croft is traveling independently. I'm not responsible for her expenses. A pause. I see. The charges have accumulated to just over $8,000. If we don't receive payment by tomorrow morning, we'll need to restrict room access and hold her passport per local regulations. That's between you and Mrs. Croft, I said. I'm not involved. Understood, sir. Thank you for your time. I hung up. Leo was grinning. They're going to hold her passport. Standard practice in the Caribbean for unpaid resort bills, I explained. She's not going anywhere until she settles her account. With what money? Isabel asked. Exactly, I said. My phone exploded with calls. Alara again. Her mother. Her sister Sophie. I silenced them all. Then a new notification appeared. An email from the U.S. Embassy in the Bahamas. Subject line, inquiry regarding U.S. citizen Alara Croft. I opened it. The message was brief and professional, requesting I contact them regarding my wife's situation abroad. Leo leaned back in his chair. Here we go. Here we go. I echoed and started composing my reply. The call came from Washington at 9:47 a.m. I was in my office, Leo reviewing security footage on one monitor while Isabel cross-referenced credit card statements on another. We'd built a war room in 72 hours. Mr. Arthur Croft? The voice was male, professional, with that particular cadence that screamed federal employee speaking. I replied, This is he. This is Special Liaison Inspector Thomas Drummond with the Department of Defense Benefit Oversight Division. I'm calling regarding a flag that's been raised on your dependent travel credentials. I put the phone on speaker. Leo and Isabel stopped what they were doing. What kind of flag? I asked, though I knew exactly what kind. Our system shows unusual activity on benefits associated with your security clearance history. Specifically, dependent travel upgrades and facility access that may have been utilized without your knowledge or authorization. Can you confirm you're aware your spouse recently traveled internationally using these credentials? I became aware when she posted photos of herself on vacation with her boyfriend. I said clearly, I was not informed of the trip, did not authorize the use of any military-associated benefits, and have since separated all financial ties. A pause. I heard typing. Mr. Croft, this is a serious matter. Unauthorized use of DoD-linked benefits constitutes fraud under federal law. We'll need a formal statement from you. Are you willing to provide one? Absolutely, I said. I have documentation, including communications proving she was aware these benefits were tied to my clearance status and used them anyway. We'll be sending you secure forms within the hour. Mr. Croft, I need to inform you that your wife's travel status may be restricted pending investigation. The embassy has been notified. Understood, I replied. After he hung up, Leo leaned back in his chair. Dad, she's not getting out of there anytime soon, is she? Not unless she finds $8,000 for the resort bill, plus whatever fines the DoD investigation adds, I said. And even then, she'll be flagged in the system for months. My phone buzzed. Alara again. I'd stopped counting how many times she called. This time, though, there was a voicemail. I played it on speaker. Her voice came through shaking and raw. Arthur, please. The embassy says there's an investigation. They won't help me. The hotel is threatening to call local police if I don't pay. Julian left this morning. He left me here. Please. I know I messed up, but I can't fix this alone. I need you. Isabel's expression hardened. She needs you. Where was that energy when she was stealing grandfather's cufflinks or posting photos mocking Dad online? Julian abandoned her is useful. Leo added, I saved the voicemail. This goes in the evidence folder. Her admission that Julian abandoned her is useful. Another call came through. Alara's sister, Sophie. I answered this one. Arthur, Sophie said, her voice tight with anger. What the hell are you doing to my sister? Hello, Sophie, I replied calmly. I'm not doing anything to Alara. I'm simply no longer funding her vacation with her boyfriend. She's stranded. She's alone. The embassy won't help her. The embassy won't help her because she committed federal fraud, I said. She used my military credentials to upgrade flights and access benefits she wasn't entitled to. That's not me being cruel. That's the legal system responding to her choices. You're really going to let her suffer over there. Sophie, your sister stole from me. She mocked me publicly. She planned this trip deliberately to humiliate me. And now she's facing consequences. If you want to help her, wire her $8,000 for the hotel bill. Otherwise, she'll figure it out. You're a bastard, Sophie spat. Maybe, I said, but I'm a bastard who didn't cheat on his wife, steal family heirlooms, or commit federal fraud. Have a good day, Sophie. I hung up. Isabel looked at me with something like, "Aw, Dad, that was ice cold." Your mother raised the temperature, I replied. I'm just adjusting it back down. 3 days later, Alara's desperation had evolved into full panic. The resort had moved her to a smaller room with no ocean view. Apparently, standard practice for guests with unpaid balances. Her social media had gone dark. No more poolside photos, no more cocktail selfies. But I had other sources of information. Leo had a friend stationed at the naval base near the Bahamas. Through informal channels, we learned that Alara had tried to visit the embassy twice more. Each time, she'd been turned away with instructions to wait for the investigation to conclude. Julian Hayes, meanwhile, had returned to the States. Isabel found his Facebook post, a photo of him back at his gym in Richmond, caption reading, "Home, sweet home." No mention of Alara, no couple photos, nothing. He'd erased her from his narrative the moment things got complicated. My phone rang. Unknown number again. I answered, Mr. Croft? Mr. Croft, this is Antonio Rossi at Villa Paraiso again. I apologize for calling, but we have a situation. Mrs. Croft has been found attempting to leave the resort with her luggage without settling her account. Resort security detained her. She's requesting we contact you. I'm not responsible for her debts, I said. Sir, with respect, she's claiming you've somehow frozen her access to funds illegally. She's threatening legal action against the resort if we continue holding her. Mr. Rossi, I've frozen nothing illegally. I removed my financial support from a joint account. The money I transferred is mine. She's welcome to pursue legal action, but she'll find judges aren't sympathetic to spouses who commit adultery and fraud. A long pause. What would you suggest we do, sir? Contact her parents, I said, or her boyfriend who abandoned her, or her sister, but I'm done being her safety net. Understood. Thank you for your time. I hung up and looked at my children. How long do you think it takes before she breaks completely? She's already breaking, Isabel said, showing me her phone. Look, it was a Facebook post from Alara's mother, Marianne. Public post. The text read, "Some people forget who sacrificed everything for them. Arthur Croft paid for my husband's cancer treatment when our insurance failed. He fixed our roof after the storm. He never asked for anything back. My daughter forgot what loyalty looks like. I haven't." Leo whistled low. Her own mother just threw her under the bus. That's not throwing her under the bus, I corrected. That's telling the truth. Something Alara stopped doing months ago. My email pinged. Subject line, Federal Benefit Misuse Investigation. I opened it. The message was from Special Liaison Drummond. Mr. Croft, thank you for your detailed statement and supporting documentation. Based on the evidence provided, we're moving forward with formal proceedings. Mrs. Alara Croft's dependent travel privileges have been suspended indefinitely. She will be required to appear for questioning upon her return to U.S. jurisdiction. We appreciate your cooperation in this matter. I forwarded the email to my lawyer with a note. Keep this on file. May need it for divorce proceedings. Leo stood up and stretched. Dad, you've essentially trapped her in paradise with no money, no allies, and a federal investigation waiting when she gets home. That's pretty hardcore. Your mother wanted excitement, I said simply. She got it. Alara came home on a Thursday, 3 weeks after she'd left, not in triumph, but in defeat. Her parents, Marianne, her father, had finally wired money to the resort. $8,000 for the bill, another $2,000 for her flight home. Economy class. Middle seat. No upgrades. Leo had spotted her flight information through connections I didn't ask about. We were ready. I didn't go to the airport. Neither did our children. Instead, I hired a process server to meet her at baggage claim with divorce papers and a restraining order preventing her from entering our former home, the one I'd sold 2 weeks earlier. Isabel had helped me document everything for the sale. The house had been in my name only, purchased before our marriage. Alara had signed a quitclaim deed years ago during refinancing. She never bothered reading what she signed. The sale netted $680,000. I split it evenly between Leo and Isabel for their future home down payments. Alara got nothing. My phone rang at 4:17 p.m. Alara. I answered this time. Arthur. Her voice was hollow. Scrape raw. Where are you? In my new apartment, I said calmly. Where I've been living for 2 weeks. The house. There's a sold sign. There's a family moving furniture in. What did you do? I sold my house, I replied. It was mine. The deed was clear. That was our home. Her voice broke. 30 years, Arthur. You should have thought about that before you posted vacation photos with your boyfriend, I said, or before you stole my grandfather's cufflinks to give to him. Silence, then quietly. How did you know about that? Security cameras. I have video of you taking them from the safe. Julian's been served with a civil suit for receiving stolen property. He'll either return them or face criminal charges. His lawyer has already reached out about settling. Arthur, please. I have nowhere to go. Your parents have a house. Your sister has a spare room. Julian has an apartment. Oh, wait. He blocked your number, didn't he? You're enjoying this, she said bitterly. I'm not enjoying anything, I replied. I'm simply no longer your solution to problems you created. Alara, you're being served with divorce papers. The grounds are adultery and fraud. I have documentation of everything. The affair, the stolen heirlooms, the federal benefit misuse. My lawyer estimates this will be finalized in 90 days. You should get your own attorney. With what money? She screamed. You took everything. I took what was mine. I corrected. The joint accounts were split legally. The house was mine. The benefits you abused were mine. You still have your car, your personal belongings, and whatever Julian bought you before he realized you were a liability. I hate you, she whispered. That's fine, I said, but you'll hate me from a distance. The restraining order is active. Don't contact me except through lawyers. Goodbye, Alara. I hung up and blocked her number. Leo walked into the living room of my new place. How'd she sound? Broken, I said. Good. He sat down across from me. Dad, I need to tell you something. Julian's gym buddy contacted me. Julian's telling people you fabricated the whole thing. That Mom was just on a girl's trip, and you went crazy. I smiled. Did he forget about the photos, the captions, the timestamps? Apparently, he thinks people will believe him over evidence. Then he's dumber than I thought, I said. Isabel has already compiled everything into a digital folder. If Julian wants to play that game, we'll make sure everyone in Richmond knows exactly what kind of man he is. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Julian. We need to talk about those cufflinks. I showed Leo. He's scared, Leo observed. He should be. I replied and started typing my response. Julian Hayes made the mistake of showing up at my new apartment 2 days later. I was expecting him. Leo had parked his truck down the street, just in case things got physical. I opened the door. Julian stood there in expensive workout gear, tried to look intimidating. He was 6 feet 2 inches, muscular from years at the gym. I was 6 feet, lean from military discipline. Age and experience beat gym muscles every time. Arthur, he said, we need to talk. No, we don't, I replied. You need to return stolen property. That's not a conversation. That's a legal obligation. Those cufflinks were a gift. Alara gave them to me. Alara had no right to give them. They were family heirlooms held in trust. She stole them. You received stolen property. That's a felony in Virginia. Would you like to explain that to the police? Or would you prefer to return them quietly? His jaw tightened. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone and showed him the video footage. Alara opening the safe, removing the velvet pouch, closing it again. Timestamp clearly visible. That's theft, I said. Documented, dated, saved in 3 separate locations. My lawyer has already filed a civil suit. The criminal complaint is drafted and ready to file if you don't cooperate. Your choice, Julian. He stared at the screen. She said you'd never notice. She was wrong about a lot of things, I said. Do you have them here? Or do I need to get a warrant? He reached in his jacket pocket and pulled out the velvet pouch, handed it over like it burned his fingers. I opened it. Both cufflinks undamaged. I felt something unclench in my chest. Smart decision, I said. Is that it? Are we done? Almost, I replied. One more thing. You're going to sign an affidavit stating you received these under false pretenses and are returning them voluntarily. My lawyer will email it to you today. You have 24 hours to sign and return it or the criminal complaint gets filed. You're a real piece of work, Julian muttered. No, I corrected. I'm a man protecting what's mine. You're a coward who ran the moment things got complicated. Alara learned that lesson in the Bahamas. Maybe you should remember it before you go after someone else's wife. He turned and walked away without another word. Leo appeared from around the corner. That went well. Better than expected. I agreed, holding up the pouch. These are going in a safety deposit box. No one touches them again. We walked back inside. Isabel was waiting with her laptop. Julian just posted on Facebook, she said, turning the screen toward me. The post read, some people can't let go of the past. Moving forward with positivity. Screenshot that, I said. It'll be useful when we show the pattern of his behavior. Man steals from his girlfriend's husband, returns the stolen property when threatened with charges, then plays the victim online. That's textbook narcissism. Already saved, Isabel confirmed. Dad, have you thought about what happens when the divorce is final? I start living again, I said simply. Without someone who sees me as boring, without someone who takes what I've built, just me building something new. Leo put a hand on my shoulder. You've got us. That's not nothing. That's everything, I corrected. My phone buzzed. A text from Alara's lawyer. Mr. Croft, we need to discuss settlement terms. My client is requesting spousal support given the length of the marriage. I showed it to Isabel. She started laughing. What's she going to argue? Isabel asked. That she deserves support after committing adultery and federal fraud? Good luck with that. I typed back, your client can request whatever she wants. She'll get nothing. See you in court. Alara wanted to negotiate, but I didn't negotiate with people who'd already shown me they couldn't be trusted. I'd spent 30 years learning that lesson in defense contracting. Alara had just given me a refresher course. The divorce was finalized on a gray October morning, 93 days from filing to completion. Judge Davies hadn't minced words in his ruling. This court finds clear evidence of adultery, fraud, and premeditated deception on the part of Mrs. Alara Croft. She is entitled to nothing beyond her personal effects. Alara had sat stone-faced through the entire proceeding. Her lawyer barely put up a fight. I left the courthouse with Leo and Isabel. We didn't celebrate. This wasn't victory. It was closure. 2 weeks later, I received a call from Special Liaison Drummond. Mr. Croft, the DOD investigation has concluded. Mrs. Croft pleaded guilty to misuse of dependent benefits. She's been fined $12,000 and placed on a federal watch list. She won't be able to use military facilities or benefits ever again. Thank you for the update, I said. Mr. Croft, off the record, you handled this better than most people would have. You documented everything, stayed calm, and let the system work. That takes discipline. I had good teachers, I replied. What he didn't mention was that Alara had also lost her job. Her employer had quietly let her go after the federal conviction became public record. News traveled fast in small professional circles. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she was living in a studio apartment on the edge of town, working retail. Julian had blocked her on everything. Her parents spoke to her, but relationships were strained. I felt nothing about it. Not satisfaction, not pity, just absence. My phone buzzed, a text from Chloe, my niece. Uncle Arthur, I'm proud of you. Grammy would have been too. My grandmother had raised me after my parents died. She taught me that dignity wasn't about never falling. It was about how you stood back up. Alara tried to knock me down. I'd stood up and walked away instead. I looked at the cufflinks on my dresser, back in their velvet case in a new safe. My grandfather's legacy preserved. Leo would inherit them someday, then pass them to his own children. Some things were worth fighting for. Some people weren't. Alara had taught me to know the difference. Spring came early that year. I was on my back porch watching my neighbor's kids play basketball when Isabel pulled into the driveway. She wasn't alone. The woman with her was maybe 50, with kind eyes and gray-streaked hair pulled into a loose bun. She wore jeans and a cardigan and carried a casserole dish. Dad, Isabel called. This is Dr. Eleanor Sterling. She worked at the hospital with me. Cardiology department. Eleanor, this is my father, Arthur. Eleanor extended her hand. Isabel has told me a lot about you, Mr. Croft. All good things, I promise. Her smile was genuine. No agenda behind it. No calculation, just warmth. Call me Arthur, I said. And thank you for the casserole, though you didn't need to bring anything. Old habit, Eleanor replied. My grandmother always said, never show up empty-handed. We talked for an hour on that porch. Eleanor was a widow. Her husband had died 4 years ago from a heart attack. She had 2 grown sons, both teachers. She liked hiking, old movies, and terrible puns. She laughed easily and listened carefully. When I mentioned my consulting work, she asked intelligent questions. When I talked about my kids, she smiled like she understood exactly what I meant. After she left, Isabel lingered. She's nice, isn't she? Isabel asked carefully. Very nice, I agreed. She's been through something similar. Her husband wasn't unfaithful, but she understands loss. I thought maybe you two could be friends. I looked at my daughter. You're matchmaking? I'm introducing two good people who deserve good things, Isabel corrected. What happens after that is up to you. Leo's truck pulled up. He joined us on the porch, and I told him about Eleanor. Dad, dating again? Leo grinned. About time. I'm not dating, I protested. I met her once. But you liked her, Isabel pressed. I thought about Eleanor's laugh, the easy conversation, the lack of games or pretense. Yeah, I admitted. I did. Then call her, Leo said simply. So I did. We met for coffee the next week, then dinner, then a hike through Shenandoah. Eleanor didn't need me to be exciting or spontaneous. She appreciated steady. She valued consistent. She saw methodical as a strength, not a flaw. 8 months after Alara posted those photos, I stood at a lookout point in the Blue Ridge Mountains with Eleanor beside me. The valley stretched out below, endless and green. Beautiful, isn't it? Eleanor said. It really is, I agreed. She took my hand, not possessive, just present, just there. I'd spent 30 years with someone who saw me as a safety net, a backup plan, a stable option while she looked for better. Eleanor saw me as a choice, one she made every day, deliberately and happily. That was the difference between settling and choosing. Alara never understood that. Eleanor did, and for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I belonged.